Hey, greetings everyone. It is GleeCon, and I am back in action, bringing you another episode of Lore of Warcraft. On our last episode, we were playing World of Warcraft Classic, our continued mega long playthrough, and we continued in Ashenvale with our Night Elf Druid. She kind of killed some of the Murlocs and some of the Naga over near the Zoram Strand, and just is generally having fun questing in that region. So check that episode out if you want to see some classic Ashenvale Alliance action. We've also been reading our final Dungeons and Dragons source book in the mega anthology of books, and this one's called Dark Factions. We're on the 7th chapter, getting near the end, which is about each different faction they have not covered in the universe, every one that they could think of. And last time we talked about the Earthen Ring, sort of a counterpart or counterpoint, an opposite, an opponent to the Twilight's Hammer clan, or the people that worship the old gods or try to rile up the elementals. So check that episode out if you want to read a little bit about them or hear a little of me reading about them. And now you can stay a while and listen if you want to hear about the Explorers League, also known as the Explorers Guild. My pre-apologies. Feeling a little under the weather, so my voice might not be 100%, but I'm gonna give it the old college try. Okay, so there's a pretty solid amount. There are 3,750 members and rising. These guys are neutral, good. Sounds good. I would actually say they almost veer more toward neutral, but sure, they generally fight on the side of good. But their primary goal is finding, lore. So kind of like us. They operate worldwide, although more often in the east, Azeroth, Cosmodon, and Lordaeron than in Kalimdor. And even that is sure, like, if we're going to draw a line, but, you could check out Badlands and stuff like, not Badlands, Badlands. The Barrens, there's areas where they operate. And up in Northrend as well, they're there. Exploring every corner of the world is their activity, searching for Titan artifacts, amassing one of the world's largest libraries of information on Azeroth's history, people, and cultures in Ironforge. So what are we all about? I'm guessing, because this is written by Brand Bronzebeard, who is a member of the organization. Simple enough. We're a bunch of dwarves who just want to know. That's with a capital K, guys. We're just too damn curious for our own good. However, curiosity isn't the only thing that drives the guild. First and foremost, we want to know about ourselves. Where did we come from? When exactly did the Titans create us? What are the Earthen? Why did we evolve from them? We believe that by discovering as much knowledge of the world as possible, excuse me, we'll find the scraps and pieces that'll tell us what we are. Back during the Second War, a friend of we three brothers, an intellectual dwarf named Munnin Magellas, had a dream. No, a vision, and maybe it's Magellas, of discovering the world's secrets and our own as well. We three brothers, along with many other like-minded dwarves, pitched in to make his dream a reality, and thus the Explorers League came to exist, dedicated to discovering all the secrets we could get our grubby, calloused hands on. Years later, during an archaeological dig, we discovered something that would change our lives forever. Deep underground, a small group of dwarves found an intriguing set of ruins strewn with Titan artifacts and scripts. Among them were the keys to our lost heritage. Driven to discover the truth about his people's fabled origins, King Magni Bronzebeard ordered that the dwarves shift their industry from mining and engineering to that of archaeology. Certainly, this is a monumental point in dwarven history. Before this event, dwarves by nature, fascinated with shaping gems and stones, set out to mine the surrounding mountains for riches and precious minerals. Content with their labors under the world, the dwarves remained isolated from the affairs of their surface-dwelling neighbors. After the founding of the Explorers League and the subsequent discovery of our past, we realized that we could no longer live apart from the world. We had to get out in the world to take risks and live. If for nothing else, we live to discover who we are. Our involvement with the world is costly. Perhaps the best example is when an ice shard from Frostmourn's prison, shattered due to Arthas' anger, desperation, and carelessness, slew my brother Muradin. But we're willing to pay that cost if it means we now know who we are. Our lives have purpose now, beyond simply cutting rocks and gems, and it's a wonderful thing. We took only about a decade to discover more information, not just about us, but the world. In fact, this book and my prior documents, the books we've already read, The Lands of Conflict, Lands of Mystery, Alliance Player's Guide, and Horde Player's Guide, are all notes my guild has taken for study. Everything the guild gathered is stored in our building's halls in the capital of Ironforge. The Explorers Guild gets along with just about everyone, though it still has problems with the Horde. Dwarves have long memories, after all. In recent years, while still firmly part of the Alliance, we take several freedoms in order to continue our exploring. I certainly couldn't have gathered the information on the world's other races without some leeway. While we're still all dwarves, we don't mind a little help here and there. So what if the help is occasionally green-skinned? It's help, isn't it? And Bran has harped time and again in these books, sort of along the theme of why can't we all just get along? So you want to join us, eh? First, you need to be 4 feet tall, weigh over 200 pounds, and have a really nice beard. Sorry, but with a few rare exceptions, we're all dwarves here. No one else cares as much, and those who do care usually want to keep the information from the world, and I'm not letting that happen on my clock. So you're a young and strapping dwarf with a set of picks and ambition the size of an ogre's stomach. You still can't instantly join Bucko. You need to spend plenty of time on Alliance soil, especially Cosmodon. New recruits can expect plenty of time in the slopes of Ironforge, perfecting their senses as well as balance. There's also weapons training. Face it, we go to dangerous places. Ever been to the Ungoro crater? Maybe you'll catch me there by the time you graduate. Maybe I've moved on by then, who knows? Fascinating stuff there, though. Anyhow, once you've earned your place as a probationary member, High Explorer Magellan hands out your first assignment. It's usually something easy, someplace we've already been. Don't want to burn you guys out yet. Prospect around there long enough, update our libraries with anything new and interesting, and eventually you'll be an official guild member. From here on out, Magellan keeps handing out assignments. You can put in a request. I suggest Silithus. I hear it's particularly nasty this time of year. Means there's got to be something good in there. Our guild hall in Ironforge is one piece of work. Offices and meeting rooms are on the top level, while workshops litter the lower levels. We've even got a couple of new vaults within the past few years. We maintain the best libraries and museums in Azeroth, where we show off the newest artifacts to crowds of eager young dwarves. And it's kind of like a museum with a library. We've visited and explored it in a previous episode called Ironforge quite a while ago. We also maintain several smaller guild halls all over Azeroth, usually in the back rooms of inns or taverns along well-traveled routes to distant parts of the continent. While not as nice as our official guild hall, you can often find out what you need in these places, whether it be a good workshop, some eager hands, or a nice and soft bed. As I said before, most of us are dwarves, and we like it that way. We have a few gnomes and humans running around, and even the occasional elf, but by far, the Explorers Guild is a dwarf organization. If you see a green torch on the door of our guild hall, it means time to sign up, lads. Now, not everyone can be a prospector. Only the smartest and toughest dwarves make it through our exams. You have to show incredible geographical and historical knowledge to even be considered, and you have to know at least 5 languages. After you're approved to take the test, then the fun begins. What's fun, you ask me? A 3-week bone-breaking trial testing your strength, stamina, and smarts. We test your gunmanship alongside your map-making skills. It's just as important to peg a goblin at 50 paces as to spot an emerald at 10, and few dwarves can meet the exacting standards of the Explorers League. Yet when you accomplish the test, that's when you get the honor to call yourself a member. You receive a generous salary of 2 gold pieces a day, rising to 5 a day when on an expedition. And in classic money, that's baller money right there. Also, we're more than happy to give you a set of clothes, weapons, and supplies. Just don't be surprised when you don't get as much as you'd like. Our quartermasters are notorious for being penny pinchers. We even give you a spot to sleep in our guild hall. Well, all the private quarters are taken, but you still have a spot in the bunkhouse. Ignore the snoring. All right, the leaders. It begins at the top with King Magni Bronzebeard, the male Bronzebeard dwarf. If you don't know my brother, then you don't belong in the guild or even our race. Our king is a wonderful, if stiff lad, and I wouldn't have him any other way. Especially since he can still whoop my butt in combat. He isn't our king for nothing, you know. Like me, Magni was one of the dwarves who helped found the Explorers League. However, also like me, Magni has nothing to do with running the organization from day to day. Now, our leader is High Explorer Magellan, and he hands out assignments to us as needed. In the meantime, Magni focuses on the heavy responsibilities of the throne, and I get to explore all sorts of far-off lands. Okay, speaking of it, we have High Explorer Munin Magellan, also a male Bronzebeard dwarf. He's the main reason why the guild exists, for it was his vision and drive that led to founding of the Explorers League. Munn Magellan has had an insatiable curiosity for history and arcana since he was a small boy. Now, as the patron of the Explorers League, his childhood wishes come true. Magellan is responsible for mapping out the world and cataloging its various species, relics, and treasures for generations to come. Employing a small army of prospectors, Magellan has sent his agents all over the world to gain knowledge and insight for his people. Magellan is committed to steering the Explorers League and gaining valuable insight on the mistakes of the past. And of course, in the person that's reading this to us, our narrator, Bran Bronzebeard, again a male Bronzebeard dwarf. What can I say about the great explorer? Strong as 10 ogres, more handsome than any stinking elf, smarter than any gnome. Oh, and did I mention he's handsome? That's me, one of the many founders of the Explorers League and King Magni's brother. I'm an old veteran, been fighting since before the First War, and I got a nice collection of orc skulls in my study. It was a hobby until the guys turned decent. I've always been way too curious for my britches. My old nannies used to get peeved because I'd disappear for days on end with my brothers making new discoveries every time. No wonder how I turned out when I got some gray in my whiskers, eh? Even though I'm one of the oldest members of the guild, you'll probably never even meet me, though. I'm never home. Heck, would you rather sit at home when you could be mucking through the wilds of Zulaman or dodging undead in Northrend? Now, what if you want to join? Well, official members of the guild get a weekly salary, access to guild halls, even a bed to sleep on. Members are also granted access to great libraries, books, and tomes and artifacts outsiders don't even know about. However, newly initiated prospectors, also known as journeymen, are not allowed outside of the guild hall for at least 3 months during their training. Exceptions exist, especially for PCs, but the guild keeps tight reins on the fledglings. Outsiders may also seek employment with the Explorers League. Most digs occur in or near dangerous territory, and the tunnels the dwarves unearth are full of hazards. The guild often hires outsiders to do some old-fashioned dungeon crawling, serve as guards, or simply slay an annoyance to a dig site. The guild pays well, offering plenty of gold as incentive. And let's hear a couple adventure hooks. Okay, so rumor has it that a particularly powerful artifact is buried deep within an unexplored mineshaft in Uldaman. The Explorers League hires the heroes to journey into Uldaman and recover the artifact, battling trogs all the while. Or, the Explorers League charges the heroes with retrieving the skull of a devil sower for a new museum exhibit in the guild hall. To do so, they must travel across the sea to the Ungoro crater in Kalimdor. There they battle the denizens and dinosaurs of the crater and find either a dinosaur graveyard or simply slay a devil sower. Both are easier said than done. And famous explorer Bran's Bronzebeard needs your help. Recently on an adventure to Northrend to finish what his brother Muradin started, an avalanche forced Bran into a cave. The heroes lead a rescue party battling Nerubians and the Lich King's forces to free the prospector. All right, we have done it. We have another episode in the pipe, 5x5. Thanks everyone so much for watching, for listening, and I will see you all next time on Lore of Warcraft.